A very good morning to the esteemed panel of judges. My name is Aditya Kukreja, and I am here with my teammates Jayesh Rangta, Muskan Mehra, and Swasti Pant. We are Team Synergy Advisory, representing Hansraj College from India. And we are extremely honored to present before you our vision for how WeChat Pay can revolutionize the SME landscape in China. This is the story of Lin, a mother of three who spent her whole life in China. She strives to set up a small business enterprise in pursuit of a better life for her family. But the road to scaling her business isn't easy. She has to face severe dearth of funding, as banks across China refuse to lend capital without collateral or some other financial guarantee. The lack of resources and business agility puts her enterprise into difficult situations in the face of business challenges, making her more prone to failure. The story of Lin is also the story of over 30 million SME owners in China, who are all in the same boat. I pass the mic to Swasi, who shall be doing a deep dive into the SME landscape and an overview of the key players.
Thank you, Aditya. Let us now take a look at the landscape of the small and medium enterprise sector in China to better understand Lin's situation. SMEs comprise over 90% of all the firms in China and own nearly 70% of the patents. They create 80% of all employment opportunities and contribute to 60% of the GDP. Clearly, SMEs are the driving force of China's economic growth. While the sector has seen rapid growth in the last few years, SMEs are susceptible to high risk of failure and low profit margins. Their inability to provide collateral makes them an undesirable choice for banks. Worldwide, only 1/3 of SMEs survive for 10 years or more. They also lack human capital and technical skills in comparison to the large organizations that they compete with. Moreover, since the outbreak of the COVID pandemic, the survival rate of SMEs has been very low. In 2020, in China, the failure rate of SMEs was about 18.5%. SMEs have had to grapple with problems such as supply chain breakdowns, lack of demand, shortage of labor, shortage of raw material, and rising commodity prices. Next slide, please. A company whose services Lin and thousands of other business owners in China use is Tencent. Tencent is a technology company providing services ranging from fintech, advertising, cloud computing, and various value-added services. It has a motto of value for users, tech for good, and it is deeply entrenched in the functioning of Tencent. All its business operations fulfill privacy and data security requirements. Tencent prioritizes its users' needs by improving product quality and even introducing new features or even a new product itself whenever needed. A great example of this is the healthy gameplay system, which was launched to help parents navigate and keep a track of the screen time and gaming time of their children. To serve the needs of the community better, the Tencent charity platform was launched, and the company has also achieved zero carbon emissions, depicting its commitment to the environment. Next slide, please. With the same philosophy of value for users, Tencent launched WeChat Pay in 2013. WeChat Pay provides various tools for enabling smooth functioning of businesses, including QR codes for payment collection and mini POS devices. Based on customer needs and feedback received, over the years, WeChat Pay has continued to introduce new features like mobile voice broadcast for confirmation of payments, mini programs, and the provision for in-app and web-based payments. WeChat Pay has also immensely helped entrepreneurs like Lin in managing their payments, taking feedback from customers, promoting their products and campaigns using the platform, and has also lowered the entry barriers for new businesses. However, there still remain some challenges that are yet to be solved by WeChat Pay. My teammate Muskan will be explaining these further.
Thank you, Swasti. Despite the efforts made by WeChat Pay, Lin's journey continues to be a strenuous one. The major pain points of an SME in China span across 4 focal areas. Payment confirmation. The current mobile broadcast system is ineffective, leading to SMEs skipping out on payments. Some merchants use a different set of personal and business mobiles, which also is not a permanent solution, and it is extremely difficult for small business owners to keep track of individual amounts, especially when each transaction counts. Payment medium. The mini POS machines are far too costly for SMEs, and printing an attractive QR code scan was also proving to be a problem, amounting nearly to 100 RMB. Business management. With big giants like Meituan increasing commission, the business infrastructure of SMEs fell short of managing customer relations, and the increasing operating costs added to their financial woes. Assurance. In a landscape which massively lacked awareness, it was challenging to repose SME confidence in technology. Case in point, the bottle shop owner who hid their QR code because they believed it could be destroyed by someone. Unlike other private businesses, SMEs were not highly insured and lacked a safety net. Next slide, please. We map out a root cause analysis which explains factors where all these problems stem from. The 3-step problem journey looks like this. Why are enough merchants not transacting despite registration on WeChat Pay? A tedious KYC process, which can take up to 3 days and requires personal computers and other advanced technology, which is not accessible to some SMEs, is one of the biggest barriers of entry. Why are current SME users also not able to capitalize on tech solutions offered by WeChat Pay? Inadequate IT and business skills, coupled with a lack of trust, are the reason. 45.3% of silent SME merchants in a survey said that they had no idea on how to make it work, and the remaining 12.6% did not possess these IT skills. Even with the requisite skills, why are technology solutions so costly for these SMEs? Given their limited human capital, SMEs are unable to manage their businesses seamlessly. SMEs face a severe lack of funding, which hinders them from taking risks and investing in such payment technologies that would reap benefits in the long run, which propagates affordability barriers. Next slide, please. Introducing a comprehensive solution. We Sustain, which encompasses the core principles of Tech for Good, aimed at creating value for SMEs with a 3-step plan of action and catering to Lin's diverse needs. The REI framework is laid down over 3 time periods, emphasizing reach in the short term, engagement in the medium term, and influence in the long term by removing accessibility barriers through the We Support scheme, provision of non-collateralized loans via stakeholder engagement, and influencing SME decision-making. Next slide, please. Let's delve deep into the first aspect of the We Sustain model, We Support. Firstly, we optimize the identity verification process through a video call, which could potentially reduce KYC turnaround time from 2 to 3 days to a mere 12 hours. This also eradicates the need to own high-end PC systems and offers a direct incentive boost for SMEs to register. Secondly, we launched a cent% cashback scheme, wherein merchants are required to pay a fixed amount for their POS device and can end up claiming it back entirely in 1 year if they secure a mandated number of transactions. Not only does this reduce costs for SMEs, since their POS device would be free of cost if they reach the requisite transaction volume, but also incentivizes them to perform better and increases net cash flow for WeChat Pay, serving both ends of the spectrum. The 2.0 version of the POS is SIM-enabled, providing internet accessibility, integrates with laptops for transaction updates, and has a digital display to view transaction history so that the payment hurdles resulting from mobile broadcasts, that is, the payment confirmation problem, is solved in the most effective manner. Next slide, please. In a survey conducted by the company, about 70% of silent merchants were found to be SMEs. The We Support solution aims to tap these silent merchants and convert 30 to 40% as active business owners transacting via WeChat Pay. Over to my teammate Jayesh, who will now be explaining the medium and long-term strategies under VSustain.
Thank you, Muskan. As mentioned earlier, the multiple challenges faced by SMEs can be traced back to one primary cause, that is, the lack of financing. Banks typically avoid lending due to higher risk, thus asking for collateral, which of course most SMEs fail to procure. Therefore, we found out that the core unmet need of the hour was non-collateralized lending. However, the primary roadblock is that there is no definitive way to assess the risk of default for a particular borrower. Thus, it will become very difficult to ascertain which SME should be given loans and which should not be given loans in the absence of guarantees. Introducing VLend, our medium-term strategy under the umbrella of VSustain. Under this initiative, WeChat Pay shall provide loans to SMEs without asking for financing. But how will this be made possible? The answer is data. To put things into perspective, WeChat Pay hosts 1.2 billion transactions every day, culminating into a huge repository of transaction data on its servers. We propose that WeChat Pay leverages its big data capabilities to analyze the available transaction data and accurately assess the risk of default for a particular borrower. Now that we are past the hurdles of managing credit risk, the natural question arises, where will the money be coming from? To cater to the same, a syndicate will be formed in partnership with various NBFCs, banks, microfinance institutions, and Tencent Holdings, where funds will be utilized to disperse the loans. These loans shall have a maximum maturity of 1 year, and they shall be eligible to only those SMEs who have been issued business payment collection codes for at least a year. These eligibility conditions shall not only aid the shift to business codes in view of segmentation challenges faced, but also increase trust among SMEs in the operations of WeChat Pay, leading to higher adoption rates and addressing the assurance challenges. Operating on the core principle of value for SMEs finance for good, VLend will facilitate financial inclusion whilst creating value for WeChat in terms of goodwill and interest income generated. Coming to the last piece of the puzzle, we present the final step of our three-pronged strategy, VManage. Beyond the non-availability of funds and the barriers to accessibility, the most prominent challenge plaguing the SME landscape was found to be the lack of human capital and the arising dearth of management skills. To address this challenge and positively influence their business practices, we plan to launch VManage, an end-to-end business management solution offering inventory management, point-of-sale software, and real-time dashboards equipped with exclusive insights for better decision-making. The platform shall not only aid business owners in understanding customer trends and better market on the WeChat ecosystem, but also allow them to fully capitalize on the virtues of interconnection. The platform shall be available free of cost to all business owners with business payment collection codes. The initial capex required for development of this platform is 75 million RMB. A premium version will be rolled down the line with additional features like provenance tracking, supply chain integration, and data-driven customizable marketing to monetize the initiative. Gradually, the network will be scaled to create China's largest SME aggregator, which will assist brands in rolling out individualized sales promotion schemes to customers in different geographies as per the customer trend insights drawn from the SME data. Let us have a look at how VSustain improves the SME landscape by making the lives of Lynn and countless others like her better. To accurately measure the impact on the end beneficiary, we map the change in the state of business owners to three key factors, namely ease of payments collection, ease of financing, and ease of business management. With the implementation of our strategy, Lynn will now be able to make the transition from a silent merchant to an active one with the help of VSupport. In addition, Lynn will also be able to raise funds for her business under the VLend program and actively manage her enterprise efficiently using the VManage platform, thus resulting in a significant improvement in her state across all three metrics. Now that we have outlined the solution landscape, we move on to what the way ahead for WeChat Pay looks like. As per our recommendation timeline, we propose launching VSupport in the immediate short term in 2022. In the meanwhile, the groundwork for VLend shall be laid by harvesting the data capabilities and establishing partnerships so that the initiative can be kickstarted in 2023. As for our long-term strategy under the influence pillar, we propose launching the VManage platform in 2024. Until then, the infrastructural foundation will be laid down over the next 2 years. The initiative shall be monetized post-2025 once a sufficient majority of SMEs have been onboarded onto the platform in the initial 2 years. Please note that all the strategies shall have periodic evaluations at intervals of 1 year to monitor the progress of the objective set. Now, I hand over the mic to Aditya, who shall be taking us through the financial impact and risks of the proposed solution.
Thank you, Jayesh. So now we look at the financial impact of V-Sustain. V-Sustain creates primarily through V-Lend and V-Support. So owing to V-Support, the number of SME users would be accelerated significantly, and we conservatively estimate that 25 million SME users will be active on WeChat Pay by 2025. This would translate to total loans disbursal of 150,000 million yuan by then, assuming that 40% of the active users avail our loan facility with average loan amount of 15,000 yuan. Thus, in 2025, we estimate that the total net profit of 8,350 million yuan after adjusting for bad debts of 4% and contingency and other expenses of 50 million yuan. This would amount to 7.3% of, next slide, please. Yeah. So this would amount to 7.3% additional profit, assuming current profits increase at 35%. We assume that the net share of interest earned by WeChat Pay would be 10%, given that SME loans are given in collaboration with financial bodies, and they would have a cut as well. As for the V-Support scheme, we remain cash neutral or cash positive for the initial 6 months, and then earn significantly higher transaction fees owing to the increased user base. Moreover, additional revenue is generated from leveraging existing technological capabilities. Therefore, there is no initial capex involved in the V-Lend scheme, and we remain cash positive from year 1 itself. Next slide, please. So this all sounds great, and we hope that V-Sustain is a huge success, but every plan has a risk. So we mapped out the major risks and plotted them according to the probability of occurrence and the intensity of exposure. So the first foreseeable risk is the risk of bad debts. The debts can be managed through using our big data and AI capabilities efficiently and setting slightly less risky credit limits. The second risk is the risk of change in financial regulations, which can be mitigated by establishing a healthy channel of communication with public bodies to monitor political developments. The third risk with the highest probability of facing us is the reluctance by SMEs owing to inadequate IT skills and knowledge. We aim to address this risk through awareness campaigns and the video call setup support feature. And we'll also ensure that the WeChat tools are easily understandable and usable as possible. Over to Muskan to sum it all up.
Let's go over the situation at hand. SMEs form an integral part of the Chinese economy, and WeChat has actively tried to deliver value to these SME customers via QR code payment methods, mini programs, among others. However, lack of trust, skills broadly categorized as awareness and cost became an obstacle to the materialization of the services being provided by WeChat Pay. The question at hand was to maximize value, acquire more SMEs, and create viable solutions. Our one-stop multi-pronged strategy, V-Sustain, answers all these questions by reaching out to more SMEs through V-Support, financing them without collateral through V-Lend, and creating a path of sustainability for them by ensuring efficient business management through V-Manage. Imbibing the true spirit of tech for good by capitalizing on existing technological capabilities to further sustainable growth, we are confident that this solution will go a long way towards WeChat Pay's vision of revolutionizing the SME landscape, ensuring that Lin and countless other SME owners like her continue to be the driving force of the Chinese economy. To sum up it all, we care. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation. It is now time for Q&A session. Judges, please keep your questions concise and leave your thoughts and comments for the feedback session. Okay, the 15 minutes countdown starts now. Let's hear the first question.
Hi, could I go first?
Yeah.
First of all, well done, everybody. Okay, excellent presentation. So thank you for that. My question is around the video KYC part. So part of the problem is not just checking that the person is who they say they are via video, but it's actually getting access to the documents that are needed to perform KYC. So it's like your business licenses, etc. So how do you intend to address that as well in order to reduce the turnaround time?
Awesome. Thank you for the question. So to address the issue of the document verification aspect, video KYCs are something that is very popular in the Indian landscape, where many citizens are asked to confirm whether they are directors of a particular company or apply for business licenses through a video call. The process works like this. There's a portal wherein you have to actually appear on video and you have to use your documentation and place it in front of your face and accordingly click pictures. A government representative, here in this case, a bank or a WeChat Pay representative, shall come on call and actually ascertain the extent of the validity of those documents. Accordingly, you have to submit an e-signature followed by scanned copies of the original documents onto a portal. And accordingly, this shall result in the KYC process being transferred within a period of 6 to 12 hours.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to add to what my teammate has explained. While initially this process will be manual, we would like to improve our capabilities in future so that we can automate this process and further bring down the time taken to approve these applications as well.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. So on the solution of lending to SME, you mentioned about big data and AI. My question is that how are we going to get access to the big data?
Thank you for the question, sir. I would like to take that up. So, sir, the big data that we need is majorly the transaction data. And since we are promoting that they use our platform to make most of the transactions and receive payments, thus we will have we are providing the gateway to them for transactions, and we can accumulate that data from there itself. So whenever they receive a payment, it will go through our gateway and we'll have access to that transaction data, and we can map their habits and their volume of transactions accordingly.
I see, thank you.
Just to add to that, sir, this essentially works like a screening process that is carried out by a bank basis the volume and frequency of the transactions. WeChat Pay is able to ascertain the credit worthiness of a potential borrower and then accordingly sanction loans to them. So basis the transaction history that goes on for each individual merchant, we're able to calculate whether they're going to be a defaulter or not. So that is how, and so this big data and the capability is already present. So not a lot of investment is also required to kickstart that process.
So, and just so that I'm clear, is this like service or business proposal we're putting forward going to be distributed to user via a WeChat mini app, is it?
So WeChat Pay is the representative that sanctions the loan. It's done in collaboration with financial intermediaries, but the screening process is also carried out by WeChat Pay. So they're the ultimate decision makers in the process.
Okay. I guess my question is that this whole proposal, we're talking about WeChat Pay.
Correct. We're talking about WeChat Pay.
Right. But in terms of, like, for example, WeLend, how is this service going to get distributed to user? Is it going to be in collaboration with Tencent, or are we just build a mini app into WeChat so that we can provide the service?
Right.
I'd like to.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
I would like to take that question up. So on the face of it, to the customer, it will be visible to the customer in the form of a mini app where the SME business owner can apply for a business loan. On the back end, however, the funds will be disbursed to a syndicate of different banks like People's Bank of China and rural credit cooperatives and a significant amount of corpus being contributed by Tencent Holdings themselves to create a syndicate of pooled funds from which the loans will be disbursed.
Right, I see. I see. Thank you. That's all from me.
I guess it's my turn now. Thank you to the team for this very comprehensive sharing. This is a question that is not specific to the proposal, but I would like to hear your views. And obviously, hopefully that, going through this entire business case competition, you have already downloaded WeChat and, explored the various functions within WeChat. I would like to get, your team's views on the current regulatory scrutiny of tech companies in China, and how your proposal can actually, mitigate any of these issues that's currently arising from the regulatory scrutiny that's happening within the China tech space.
Thank you, sir, for the question. So, as per our readings from the China's landscape with respect to the recent crackdown on big tech giants like Alibaba and Tencent Holdings, we noticed that primarily the regulated landscape is more towards barring net neutrality and focusing them more on safe links that can be monitored by the Chinese government. In this case, we are not exclusively promoting the use of any additional third-party means. However, with the recent rise in interconnection and interlinking of different platforms so that more apps are integrated within Tencent to create a super app in the form of WeChat Pay, we believe that this initiative to microfinance through lending small loans to business owners will be in tandem with the Chinese government policies and shall in fact help WeChat Pay form stronger relations with the government, since it will be assisting the government in one of its primary objectives as stated in their last memorandum about promoting the SMEs and their economic incentives by disbursing them and giving them subsidies and interest-free loans, and here in this case collateral-free loans.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
As per the data regulations, so of course, both the platforms we lend and WeChat support, the data would not be harvested in any form, but rather it's the customer data and it would be used to better the services for the customers themselves. Therefore, the data will not be shared with any third party at any point of time. Thus, it makes sure that the recent crackdown's primary focus was data security by the Chinese government, which has been adhered to in all aspects of the solution. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any more questions from judges?
Yeah, hi, sorry, I have another question. For the 100% cashback scheme, could you just explain that to me again, please? As in how that will work, what the terms are for that, and how you maintain a profitable business with this kind of scheme, please.
Thank you so much, sir, for that question. I'd like to take it up. So in the status quo, the mini POS machines which were offered by WeChat Pay were resisted by merchants because they felt like they had to pay a lot of money for communications and the device itself. And so costing became a major issue. Now the cashback scheme offers you a cashback based on the number of transactions that you facilitate. So in the initial period, when you acquire the machine, you pay a certain amount of fixed cost. Let's assume this to be, like, I take an arbitrary number, 300. Now, assuming for every 5 transactions that you do, you get a cashback of 60. So basis the, so WeChat Pay will generate a requisite number of transactions for the merchant. And as in when they achieve that number of transactions, so per transaction, they're receiving a tiny cashback amount. So if they complete the mandated number of transactions in a year, because they have a year to get this cashback, they'll probably be able to retrieve back the entire amount. So if you end up transacting a lot via WeChat Pay and receiving a cashback on each marginal transaction, by the end of the year, you're likely to get a cashback of 300, the amount that you initially spent. So your POS device has become free of cost over a period of time. And also it's incentivized you to transact more through WeChat Pay. So the transaction volume for WeChat Pay also increases in that regard.
So sorry, just so I'm clear, so that's 100% cashback of the fees that the merchant pays?
Correct.
Right, okay.
The cost for the device itself.
I see, okay, for the device. So basically, WeChat Pay then continues to make money through the transaction fee, or?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we predict that the scalability of transactions would significantly increase, and so the transaction fee charged per transaction would then go high, and so they'll be able to offset the cost that they incur on providing the POS free of cost. So the cashback would be offset by the additional revenue generated through those transactions.
Okay, thank you.
If I may add to that, sir. We also have the option of varying the number of the threshold for minimum transactions. So we'll set the number of transactions in such a way that we recover the cost within however much time we like. So we can say that, let's say, we actually did an example. So let me just take you through that, if it's okay.
Sure, yeah.
So we went on to Alibaba and we saw that the cost of a POS machine, of a good POS machine, is about 180 yuan. So assuming that a shopkeeper recovers a cashback of 30 yuan every year, he'll get back the money in 6 months. So what we did was that we know that our transaction fees is 3%, 0.3%. So for that, we then calculated that the minimum transactions required for the SME would be of 9,000 yuan. So if he transacts 9,000 yuan in any month, then we get back the amount that we give to him, 30 yuan, in transaction fees itself. And after 6 months, that transaction fees keeps on coming and we don't have to pay him back. So for the whole process, we remain either cash positive if the person does not avail the cashback scheme, if he does not meet the transaction threshold, or we remain cash neutral. We do not become cash negative at any point. So that is the big plus point of our solution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We still have time for one more questions. So if it is fine, then we will end the session.
I do have one more question, if it's okay. So we're proposing about using this whole solution for SME payment, for example. My question is that when I go to China, I see a lot of what's the difference here? I was trying to understand what is going to change, for example, after this.
I'm sorry, sir. There is a network delay and your voice isn't audible. So can you please repeat the question?
No, yeah, sure. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So my question is that we're talking about payment for SME here, and when I go to China, I see I can use WeChat Pay for for almost any shop, big or small. So what's the difference between that and the proposal making here?
So the primary problem here is that you can use WeChat Pay for people and SMEs situated in urban areas. However, in rural areas, many people are not that tech savvy, nor that they are digitally aware. To take the example from the case itself, there is a village in China where the concept of a printout does not exist. They simply do not know how to get the QR code printed. These are the primary technological deficiencies that inhibit the system, which is the reason why 70% of the SMEs that are on the platform are dormant, as in they have never transacted, although they have made the accounts. So our solution aims to bridge that understanding gap by making it more accessible to the wide masses and at the same time answer the most crucial problem and challenge faced by SMEs, that is the lack of funds that has plagued the landscape for over 20 years.
Okay, thank you all. Okay, the judges will now stay in the room to deliberate. Dear team, we'll place you in the waiting room and bring you back in for the feedback session in a few minutes.